Try again.
Maybe.
Nope, we're live.
Hank.
Delayed kank.
I did it again. I always forget to take this off the screen. Sorry. Well, hello. Well, hello. What's the read there, sir? We'll hold the one at that. Guys.
When the show doesn't start, I'm sure everyone's turning to their hymnal.
That's right. That's right. The Book of Leon. But we also know about Conley 316, so let's not mix church and state. Steve Conley. You ready for it? Well, hello. And welcome back to All and Sundry, to your favorite weekly live cast focusing and featuring expert cartoonists. That's right. Pinch me. I must be dreaming. Expert cartoonists. Mike is so overwhelmed by this information, it's making him teary.
Experts.
Melting, what a world. Guys, welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. I am your first host. My name is JAMAR NICHOLAS. I am a cartoonist in good standing. Also in the traditional book space, they call me an author illustrator. Leon the Extraordinary is my series at Scholastic under the graphics imprint. My next book in the series, Leon Worst Friends Forever, is dropping October 1st. Worstober is coming. I'm very excited about that. But I would be remiss if I didn't introduce my co-host, my cohort and co-conspirator. He is known in these streets, you ready for it? Conley 316, Stone Cold Steve Conley. What's up, Steve Conley?
Hey, everybody.
You rip up your leather vest.
I have got to get a Leon T-shirt for under my blouse.
I'll send you one.
My name is Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, your 37th favorite webcomic. You can find it on Webtoons, Tapas, Go Comic, and middleagecomic.com. And I also make role-playing game stuff. You play the Dungeons and the Dragons. You can roll some dice. Check out intoximancy.com and deathdealing.com. But I would be remiss if I didn't introduce the Tower of Power, the Man of the Hour, Too Sweet to Be Sour, the artist of 2 daily comic strips. 2. That's not possible. It can't be done. But he does it. Mr. Mike Manley.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Mike Manley, and I drew your childhood, probably.
No.
I had somebody else actually this week tell me that they had one of those coloring books I showed on my Facebook page the other day. So it's just so strange to me that people in the business colored in coloring books that I drew in the 80s. It's just so bizarre to think that they were sitting there with a magic marker making a big giant black circle. I wonder if people do coloring books like they did back in the day.
What, just like burning into the,
or it's like that's too low tech, you have to be coloring on an iPad now or something.
Well, do you remember? I think it was right before the pandemic. The adult coloring book caught fire. People were really into that, and it was kind of like the early stages of self care. Hashtag self care.
Mhm.
And then people were trying to say, you know what, the adult coloring book is over, but people were still buying them. You know,
Yeah, I still think they do them. I still think they do them. And who are these they people who decide what's hot and what's not?
America's Tom Zoller is who those they.
He's walking through bookstores. Nah, yes, no, yes. Take this off the shelf.
And one thing that I saw in Michael's that I was kind of interested in, but I didn't have the space to get into it. It was kind of an adult coloring book, but it was also kind of paint by numbers, but they were stickers. So it would be kind of like the Venus painting, but it was all like little mosaic stickers, and you had to kind of place them, like in a color mosaic. That would just drive me mad, because if all of us cartoonists know how frustrating it is to have Zipatone stuck to the back of your forearm, you don't want to see me with one of those sticker books.
You got Venus's eyeballs stuck on the back of your elbow.
So, but yeah, and and maybe just to what you're saying, Mike, it's that it's kind of insane to feel how quickly time is going by, and then also you talk about your childhood. Like I told you a long time ago, I think one of my first Marvel comics, because a lot of people know that I didn't grow up being a comic book guy, I was a comic strip guy, was your Transformers.
That was my first job at Marvel, was drawing initially the Transformers.
Do you remember what number? Not that you would.
Number 9, I think.
Wow, that's wild. That's wild stuff.
Yeah, and I had not really ever watched the cartoon, so the weird thing about it, they gave you like this binder that had model sheets in it,
Mm-hmm.
so you had some drawings, but the toys had nothing to do with the designs of the stuff on the cartoon. So you had to sort of like try to figure out, okay, I bought an Optimus Prime or a Starscream or whatever, and then you look at that, and then you look at the model sheet, and okay, it's like wasn't exactly the same.
You're right. Those toys, because they were like really kind of like I don't know what you call it. They were like high carbonated metal, even though they were plastic. Like they were shiny.
Sure.
Like everything was super shiny, and they didn't look like the cartoons. And they, so I can understand how frustrated that must have been. Were there people on staff that are like, no, these aren't on model? They didn't even know what the model was either, I'm sure.
I don't remember. No, I don't remember that. I don't remember that being an issue. And actually, that probably wouldn't have been an issue with Marvel anyway. It probably would have been an issue with the licensing.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And it makes me think about even like transforming in a comic book where it's like a lot of like, motion lines and like, like Ditko ghosts, like going through the thing. Like, how was that trying to figure out how these things turn into cars on a page, Mike? Were you like trying to pace that out?
I remember there was a sequence, I think, where one of the cars drove off a cliff and then like, turned into a robot.
Mm-hmm.
And you tried to do the best you could with the reference that you had, and you just kind of had to go with it.
You didn't get letters from kids telling you that?
You ruined my Transformer.
You ruined my childhood.
You ruined my childhood. That's not how he transforms.
Those are great letters to the editor right there. You ruined my childhood, Mike.
I did a lot of that stuff, a lot of those activity books. And you would see the show, and then they would have the model sheets. And then with coloring books, you can't do anything that's like too intense. So even if the bad guy is bad, he can't be too bad, or you can't have like, he can't have a mean expression. I remember doing a Halloween book, and it had witches in it. Then you draw but it had to be a nice witch. Couldn't be, an evil witch. It was just so sort of weird what the criteria that you had. Each licensor was different.
That's so funny. Nice witch, not a scary witch.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us have gotten notes like that over time. It's like, oh, you're drawing like like a spooky book. Oh, this is too scary. Can you not make the teeth so sharp? I've gotten notes like that. This might be scary to kids.
And that's what kids want.
Right, I want that.
They want scary. That's the thing. It's like they try to make everything so PC and so bland, but actually kids want the scary stuff. Because like when I used to give out comics at Halloween, I would save up all my comp list over the year, and then I would give comics instead of candy. But I'd have to go through the stuff because there's some stuff like I can't give them like the Vertigo stuff. But if a kid saw that, that's the one. Oh, I want the one with the blood on it. I want the one with the eye coming out of the skull. That's the one I want. And I'd have to think like, I can't give this.
Faust.
Yeah, well, you'd have to think. You want to give age-appropriate stuff to kids because you don't want to give them a comic that then their parents going to go like, what the hell is this?
Right, they're coming right to your house.
You're right. Ding dong, ding dong.
Sorry.
Here, child abuser, come to the door, child abuser.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Yeah, so I had to go without anything to be like, that might be a little bit too intense for a kid.
Right. And, and just to what you said, when we were kids, we always wanted the things that were out of your reach or older than you, or even the cool stuff was stuff that your older brothers had or whatever. It was never like.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it is that a lot of parents are letting their little kids watch like Terminator 2 and Aliens and, like really scary stuff. But I'm not getting, I'm not going to be like the guy that's handing out inappropriate stuff.
One of my favorite stories is we went to see Jurassic Park 2. I'm showing my age for 4th of July weekend, and this kid sat up front row with his mama. That kid cried his eyes out the whole movie. Like people were like, "Lady, take him out of here!" Like people felt bad for the kid. He was like, "Mama." Mama. he was through. Like you're terrifying and terrorizing this child. Please leave the theater.
Yeah, you feel bad for parents because parents want to go and they want to see stuff, but some kids just can't handle it.
Yeah, but you know what you can handle, pencil ears. We have a fantastic guest for you today. I believe that he
might be too scary for some kids.
He might be too scary. He may receive his master's jacket tonight. He is the most reoccurring guest that we've ever had in the tenure of Pencil to Pencil. I forget how many times. Maybe you can tell us. I don't remember. Ray Anthony Height is here with us tonight. Woo! And guys, we don't have a safety net. There's no notes. Ray is family. I said, "Can you come on?" He was like, "No doubt." He was like, "What are we going to talk about?" I was like, "I don't know." And he was like, "Perfect." So I'm excited to bring him in. And also, I want to catch up with him because if you follow Ray on the socials, you know that he's always making moves. He's also always trying to be better than he was the day before. And he's a very inspiring gentleman. And I'm glad that he is a friend of ours. So let's just cut right to it. Let me get my graphics together before I bring him in. I got to get the renderer machine together. All right, prepare for Ray. You ready? Prepare for rendering. Welcome to Pencil to Pencil. Ray Anthony Height. Ping. Look at that. What?
Oh, hello.
Well, hello.
Welcome to Pretty Rainbow.
That's fantastic. Ray, you know what? The people say things like this to you. "Oh, I've met LeVar Burton. He's the nicest guy." You remind me of LeVar Burton.
Yes. Yes.
I think that might be a thing.
As a matter of fact, I want to tell you what was funny. In our backstage conversation, I was telling you guys about Rhode Island. I was on the plane with LeVar and sat right across from him.
What?
And you want to know how cool he is?
How cool is he?
He gave me the nod.
Wow, that's really that's high praise.
Yeah.
You
He
get
looks
that?
over.
And then
I think he recognized. Yeah, well, it wasn't that one. That was what I was giving him, Mike.
no,
He knew. He clearly knew I knew who he was. And I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like you're probably staring at a young lady too long and you're 16 years old and she says, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Don't do this too long.
No, but right. No. It was just like a thing. And then we sat and he literally is right across. And I don't know what I was doing. I think the stewardess was asking me something.
you're
And
like
she's
this.
walking past. You're right.
Or you like this?
Let me tell you. I was the person that I would watch Reading Rainbow as an adult at the same time as going over to Next Generation, right? And the episode on Reading Rainbow where he goes to the set of Next Generation was epic. It was just great.
That was like crossing the streams.
Yeah.
It was like the two worlds are meeting, Costanza, like, you know, and it was pretty awesome. But yeah, he goes.
Yeah, that cool nod has currency. You don't get those all the time.
Yeah, you do not get those all. Most of the time, people are trying to avoid eye contact.
Yes.
I try to avoid eye contact depending on who it is.
Yeah, I guess some celebrities are chill about being a celebrity.
Mm,
You know,
yeah,
it's kind of chill about being a celebrity. And other ones are like, I'm a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Is that kind of how like people treat Keanu Reeves in the streets, where they're always like, "Oh, he seems so sad." It's what because Keanu Reeves sitting on a bench throwing popcorns at pigeons.
Yeah.
He seems so sad.
Are you okay, Keanu? Do you want me to call someone?
That's fantastic. So, I want to jump right into this. So, Ray, we don't, like I said, we don't have a safety net. And beyond us being friends, I am also a big fan of yours, creatively and also as a human being. So I just want to give you your flowers.
Mutually.
Give you your flowers. Thank you. And also, like, you could talk about whatever you want tonight, but maybe if you want to just get us caught up from what's been happening since the last time you were on the show. I know you had some like studio shifts. You had some different focuses. Maybe you want to talk about your health stuff a little bit, like you changed some things in your life. Well, you have the floor, and then we'll just jump on from there.
So I'm just going to clarify. I'm DMing Jan, and I'm like, so dude, what are we talking about? And he's like, you. I'm like, oh crap, right? Like, okay. I'm more of a person who likes to listen to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier. I don't have to think that hard. And I just listen. But actually having to go through, because I'm kind of like this all the time. Like I'm going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Oh, this doesn't work. I guess I don't want to say I treat my life how I treat work, but I mean, you know how we go through ideas, and if something doesn't work, we just, all right, let's, spitball. Mm-hmm. I kind of do that with a lot of life. I don't have a lot of time to bemoan like, oh, this didn't work. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, who gives a crap? Right? Like, let's keep going until it does. Let's keep going until something sticks. And I'll address the whole health thing. So, as we all know, this job could be a freaking grind. And several times over the course of my career, I've grinded myself to a medical halt. trying to do 2 books at once, taking on too many jobs, whatever. And, it gets to you, and then, you go to the doctor and you're like, yeah, you're a diabetic. Yeah, your blood pressure needs work. Yeah, all these different things, So, and it's not that we don't feel these things. We feel crappy, but we're soldiers. I mean, anybody who's lasted a long time in creating anything, and not just comics, but there's a switch that we turn off, and we're like, we got to get this done. Yeah, I feel like hot crap, but let's go. I'm gonna go until I pass out, and then somebody throws some water on me. I wake up and I still got a pencil in my hand. So it's that kind of thing. That's not the way to be, and I've definitely changed my way. And this kind of segues into the studio when I come back to that. But this is what we're trying to do, and it is not healthy. It is not healthy. And we need to be better about it. We need to be smarter about it. And if you love this career, if you love this job, you want to do it forever. And I don't mean forever it lasts 10 years because you died at the desk. I mean forever that I got to walk to my table with a cane. Right? So, and that is the difference to do this smarter, because we're not the same as we were in our 20s or 30s or whatever. Anyway, the headline is I reversed my diabetes. My A1C when I first got diagnosed was like 12 point something. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then, but I am a man of science. And this is what gets me in trouble by a lot of people, because I'll say things that I don't have any emotion by it. It's just facts. And it was kind of like what I told you guys on one of the last Pencil to Pencils, where there's a prediction. I have this thing, and what happens to me is information just comes through and then spits out an answer, kind of like, what is it, Zola? Like, here's your fortune.
It comes out of your mouth. Like,
it's like, okay, we're going to war. Oh, COVID's going to be a pandemic. Like, stuff like that. All I need is a little bit of information. So when I got the information about what diabetes was, not that I hadn't heard of it, but I never had really moment to do my research.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is your pancreas is having trouble processing sugar, so therefore it stays in your body. Let's eliminate sugar or reduce it. So, and carbohydrates translate easily in the body as sugar. I cut carbs from eating the standard American diet, which was, I was probably eating at least 500 carbs a day to get up to that. I'm staying up. And the doctor also told me, he asked me what my job was. And I said, well, lately to get these deadlines, I stay up all night. Then I drop my daughter off at school. I drop my wife off at the bus station. So she goes all the way to LA when we lived at Palmdale. But I'm also a day person. So when the sunlight hits my eyes, I cannot go to sleep. I cannot go to sleep. So my rhythm was off. He's like, it's not just sugar with you. You're not sleeping, because then I would stay up for 3 days. And he's like, so you have sleep deprivation. You're not giving your body a chance to rest. And you're eating entirely too many carbohydrates, and you're not exercising because you have a desk job. These factors put you in the situation, so you got to start making some changes. That was 10 years ago. I have not ever been at a 12 point something A1C, but I had gotten to the point where I brought it down to 7, which is still not great, but it's better.
It's a lot better, yeah.
It's a lot better, and I felt better, and it was a big change. And only recently did I discover I basically I avoid sugar and carbohydrates. I eat as clean as possible, and I went to get my A1C checked, and now I'm at a 5.4.
Great.
So, but it took a long time. There's a lot of bumps and things like that, and I could feel the difference.
Yeah.
I feel a world better, like truly. And I sleep. Like, sleep is a priority. I want to do a panel, you guys, on how important sleep is. Even if you eat the worst shit. I mean, Even if you go take yourself to sleep, go to sleep. Get at least 6 hours, I think, minimum. You know, and as we get older, we really actually need more. Even though most of us, we get to the point where, and you have to sleep to your body's satiation. That part, right?
I'm doing the DiCaprio point.
Yeah. That's it. Because someone brilliant, Aletha Martinez, only needs 4 hours of sleep. I mean, she's a dynamo, you know? And she's like, I cannot sleep past 4 hours. But she's like, oh, I was like, that's a freaking superpower for our job. Right? So, but that ain't me. That is not me. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty satisfied with 7 hours. If I can get 7 hours of sleep, my brain is cooking. I'm doing great work and I feel great and energized. But if I go to sleep at, let's call it 2 a.m., which I try not to do anymore, and the sun hits my eyes at 6, I'm messed up. Yeah. So anyway, that's
well, I this is even something that, and it seems really silly that at our advanced ages that we would still be figuring things out, but it's just like, oh, I feel like crap because I haven't slept in a week.
Yeah, right. Oh, that was me. I was like, why do I feel this way?
this odd way.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, if you don't sleep, your hormones get off.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your hormones get off, and then that starts to throw your whole system out of whack, because you need that to be able to help your body recover, especially if you're type 2 diabetic, right? And so
Mike,
what happens?
You know what you're talking about, brother.
Yeah. Well, because I'm type 2 diabetic, so but my A1C is like 6.1, so it's pretty good.
It's good. Like, dude, you're like right there. Because mine was 6.1 for a long time.
Yeah.
For a long time. So
yeah, I mean, and then everybody's body type, your chemistry set is different. Like my brother is also type 2, but there are things that he eats that affects his metabolism different than my metabolism. Certain foods that he eats throw him way off, right? So everybody's different. You got to sort of find out what your what works for you, what works for your body. And you can abuse your body for a long time, but by the time you get in your 50s and your 60s, your body starts saying, "No, you're gonna. If you do this, you will pay for it."
Yes. That's exactly what happened to me. It's like, hey, knucklehead, listen.
Yeah. I mean, I used to go 3 days in a row with no sleep when I was younger. I used to work routinely up until I was in my 50s. I would go on 4 hours sleep a night until the weekends. I get 4 hours sleep a night during the week, and then I'd catch up on the weekend. And eventually, your body just goes, well, if you do that, you're gonna pay for it.
Yep. Mike, you probably know that the law of diminishing returns, where you're like a monster for like 48 hours, and then that next day you can't do shit. Like you are a zombie. And that's what would happen to me, where I would be, killing it. But I'd be killing me. So I just crash. And I can't do anything. And I just feel like like tar. My insides, my brain, the way I thought was like tar. It helped, like the lack of sleep contributed to me, my anxiety getting out of control. I had like sleep paralysis. Like I you know, it was some crazy stuff. I mean, I don't have those things anymore. The only thing that lingered once I started the repair train was that when my body required sleep, it's what Mike was saying about your body will make you pay. We're going to make you pay. And it's a reminder. So even if I wouldn't get sleepy like a normal person. My sleepy would come with, I don't want to say pain, but like an ache in my head. And I don't get that anymore ever since I dropped below 6. But you know, and I was on it because that feeling sucks. It was like, you know, I'm going to sleep. I hear you. I'm going to sleep, right? So it forces me.
Yeah.
Forces me to go.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed is that the older guys I knew, like Villadron and Williamson, they didn't pull all-nighters. They at a certain point they go, that's it. I'm done for the day. I'm going home. And most of those guys in the business, they didn't pull all-nighters. You know, they worked. They got up in the morning. You know, they had their toast or whatever and their coffee, and they went to work. And you know, they knock off for lunch or whatever. They go home and have dinner with the family. And occasionally Al would come back and work or just hang out. But he wasn't, you know, he was in his mid-50s by then. So he was not pulling any all-nighters, you know. This, you know, this job can eat you up.
Well, who was doing his social media and running his website at the time?
Right. Yeah, I think he passed away before all that coming. I can't imagine him
running an Instagram account.
Right.
There's so much pressure on us to be always, you know, like, I can't fall asleep. I got to figure out Substack. You know, I gotta.
Well, you know, I had the thought about when Ray was talking earlier about kind of maybe in a football metaphor or sports metaphor, like you were used to playing hurt.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just kind of how this works, you know, and just maybe even like maybe the past 10, 11 years, people are kind of pushing back against this and like, yo, I'm hurt. I'm not playing. And, you know, even our society is still trying to get used to that idea that, well, what do you mean you're tired?
Right.
You know, or even from fandom who say things like, oh, well, so-and-so was slow, or well, they need to hurry up and get these books out. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important that we have episodes like this where we're just talking about the realities of the human condition.
Well, those guys lived in a time where they didn't have social media. They sent stuff in. The editorial offices did more. They weren't scanning anything, right? They weren't. The biggest thing,
facsimile machine,
mid 80s or so, late 80s or early 90s, was you would have to race FedEx. That was your cutoff, right? So my cutoff was 9 o'clock at the airport. Right, and I could drive from my house to the airport in 15 minutes. Right, so that was my cutoff. Right, so now it's 24 hours because this damn thing is on 24 hours a day. Right, yeah. You put the stuff on the server at 4 o'clock in the morning. Right, you've got your Instagram, you've got your Blue Sky, you got your Facebook, or you got your Twitter. And I do feel that the artist today does feel like, well, if you're not promoting you, who is going to promote you? Nobody's going to promote you. No. Right? If you know all those thousands of pages I've drawn, they're not promoting me. If I don't promote myself, nobody promotes me. So it does add on to your list of things that you have to do.
Your plate's a lot bigger now.
I fought it. I personally fought it. I was like, oh, I had stuff on the shelves. I got, whatever I'm doing, I don't have to do that. And this is early in the beginning of social media. I mean, the only time I truly had fun on social media is with the message boards, like Wizard message board, Pencil Jack, stuff like that. That was fun because it was mostly just us doing our thing. Now it's a whole different thing. So me fighting it, I was like, I don't worry about doing the social media thing. And as time has gone on up until now, I realized something. Exactly what Manley just said, which is it is part of the job now. It is because, we can do the work and we have pages, and then the company has pages and we leave it up to them. They have hundreds of things going on, other people to promote, different things, bigger things. So you kind of get left out, like you did the job, but now nobody knows about it. And we're our own brand, right? Because we know a ton of people who are good, like very good, professional level, but no one knows about them. Right? And that's up to us. It's part of our job. We are entertainers, guys. Like, we have to entertain. And now the way the structure is set up, especially the way some of these companies are, it's not just, like I loved Mike's Darkhawk. I haven't seen Darkhawk in years, man. And the only time I know what Mike is doing is because I'm following him. The only time I know what Steve or Jamar are doing is because I'm following these guys. And now I know, and now I can just go 1, 2, 3, right? And then if I really like it and then I want to promote that. Then I want to say, hey, look at this cool thing. But if I don't do that, who's doing it?
So, it ain't gonna happen if you don't do it,
right?
No. And then if you say things like it makes company, like one thing that I've been doing, not at all my school visits, depends on if they're like older kids or whatever. The older kids I talk to, I talk less about, isn't it cool to draw, and more like about owning stuff. It's like, how important it is to own things that you create, and your ideas are worth something. Don't ball up your paper and throw them away because somebody says it's silly or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, keep it really basic. But there's parts of that where I'm also thinking about, like, I kind of forgot what I was talking about. It just slipped out of my head. What were we talking about a second ago?
We were talking about social media and promoting yourself. And
that's what. Thank you. So I said, and I wouldn't say this to all the kids, but sometimes I say, you know what? I think it's hard for people to understand that if something happens to me, there's no more of this stuff. There's no fill-in issues, and there's nobody that's going to show up and like remix my characters and keep drawing them. It's done. So I have to take care of myself, and you have to take care of yourself. Like, you're your own and only employee. So I can't call out sick. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, all these things I have to show up on this date to talk to you kids. And if I'm sick, I'm not here. You know what I'm saying? So on top of the work, there's also that self-care thing, and also getting these kids to kind of think more broadly about ownership.
Well, that's what my studio was about. So now we're on that. Here's the thing. I see fam is there. Hey, shout out to the chat fam. But yeah, like, my studio was to usher in these kids who weren't getting and weren't going to get the breaks. Like, there's gatekeeping. We know this. We know that is a real thing. And I started the studio. First of all, I'm like enthralled with the way the manga industry is. Everybody knows me, knows I'm a huge otaku nerd. And the way that they do it, and that's a conversation for another pencil to pencil, but I could break down exactly the reason why they're killing the American market. with manga.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I wanted to bring in these group of they weren't just marginalized. They were young. They were like, if they worked on these 2 out of 5 things, it'd be great, kind of thing. And I had them test, and I had them do all these things, and I let them know that if you want this, it's there for you because it's within your grasp.
Mhm.
The rest is up to you. You have the skills, at least the base, and everything can grow. You never stop learning. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to learn from my mistakes and understand the side that, let's say, and I love all the things that the Cupid School was doing, but most of the people, I would say half of the people in my studio were Cupid School graduates. And for whatever reason, like, they came to me and I gave them this opportunity, and there was things that I was teaching them that they didn't learn there, because it's about the business and it's about how to treat yourself, and advocate for yourself and what's important to you. That you cannot think, oh, this person is doing that, so I should do that. Or this person, no. It's a fingerprint. It's all individual. Whatever's going to work for you is what's going to work for you. Their path is their path. Your path is your path. But your job is to know exactly why you're here. And once you do that, I can teach you as much as I can on how to walk your path. This is what not to do. This is what you should do. But the choice at the end of the day is always yours. So we had these jobs, and I thought was funny. I had announced online fairly softly I was doing the studio, whatever, and I had a lot of people come in. 20, 30 people applied for the job. And, I ended up with 5. But some people were really, really good. And I tested them on speed. I tested them on skills. I tested them on being able to communicate. That's another thing in this job that you have to be able to do.
And dodging a wrench.
Oh, yes. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
So what are the kind of things that you would give them to do?
I would give them pages to do and understand the balance between light and dark. So that's one of the things that I wanted them to do, because that you didn't have to do this super fine Barry Windsor Smith detail kind of stuff. You could tell a pretty clear story with just black and white shapes if you knew how to do it well. That's one of the things I would teach them as far as the skills are concerned. That's one of many things. One of the things as far as the business goes, never take a job that you are going to hate and that you do not understand, because you're not going to finish it. That's just it. And you have to be honest with yourself. That's one of the main things that I was teaching them. Be honest with yourself. How fast are you? Do you really want to do this? Are you good at this? You need to be your worst critic, because what you feed the world, they might think is great, but every one of us on this podcast right now can look at a work we did yesterday and say, I could have did that better. Because what is it? Work is never finished. Art is never finished. It's only abandoned. But you have to know when to abandon it, right? And a lot of these kids, they don't know that, or they start that insecure comparing themselves to these legends and luminaries, thinking that every day is a cakewalk, that we sit down and we crank out 6 pages in 4 hours and then we go to Starbucks. That's not how this works, right? Like, we are students to this day. We learn all the time, and the business is always changing. So one of the other things I say is, if you want to work in this business for a long time, it's not all about drawing. It's not all about writing. It's about observation. Look at what's doing well. Look at who's getting hired. Look at what the fans are talking about versus what the publishers are talking about. Figure out where you fit. Understand all of these things. Me personally, I'm always watching. I see my boy Joe Illich is in there. He knows, based on our conversations, I am studying people. I'm studying the market. I'm studying everything that has nothing to do with drawing. Because we're in entertainment. We want to sell, right? And I want to sell to people who want to buy. I'm not necessarily conforming to fit what, let's say, they want, and it's against what I want. I'm not doing that. But I am understanding the landscape.
Yeah, that's super important, especially if you have the ear of young artists who are kind of, and this is, I don't want to be a old man yelling at clouds thing. It's kind of like we're not even, let's not talk about AI. We're not talking about any of that stuff, but we're fighting against this microwave culture of going to YouTube and getting the cheat codes to everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw this towards the end of my teaching at the college level, where I'm in the middle of this design class, and I look over and kids are on YouTube trying to learn how to do it faster because they don't want to wait that long. I just need to get to the finish line here, and and how do you teach somebody who thinks they have the answers already?
Well, the other thing is, and I said this last week on my Facebook, you have to look at the business, because just today, what is it? Paramount announced that it was laying off. It's shutting down its TV studio and laying off like thousands of people, right? Now, if you're an animator, you're a kid going into school and you want to be an animator, well, those kind of things affect whether the studio will actually be there when you graduate. That studio you want to work at, maybe it won't be there. But a lot of people don't think about things like, they don't look at the business, the umbrella of the business. Like, you're going to be working at one of these places under the umbrella of business. And if you don't know who the movers and the shakers are in the business, who will affect whether you have opportunity at company A, B, or C. And a lot of people don't really think about it. They just think, I want to draw Spider-Man, or I want to draw Ninja Turtles, or I want to be an animator, like a real sort of generic thing. They don't realize that, like Monday, there could be a board meeting and they decide, you got to get rid of anybody that's making over $500 a week. And then all of a sudden, those jobs all disappear, right? Like right now, about 70% of the animation union is on layoff, right? So if you're thinking, I want to be an animator, people working in animation, there's a lot of people looking for work right now. So you got to have that vision to look at it as a professional, which includes not only your skill set, but the umbrella of the environment that you're going to be working in.
Yeah, definitely. Like, know the playing field. Do not bring a soccer ball to a baseball field. Don't do it. Okay, so that's what, I mean, you might have an interesting take, but who knows? I'm not saying that off the cuff ideas don't work. They happen, but when you're doing something like that and you want to be an outlier or a maverick, usually those people have studied the playing field.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I see a little spot, right? Like, this is where I can do the thing.
Right.
But they know already. They're just not like, well, now I just want to do the no. That's not going to work for you. It's not happening. So I think with the students that I had, I told them, you have to preserve yourself and understand, because, like, to piggyback on what Mike was talking about in animation, a lot of the folks that I know and are close to, unless they are currently on a very successful show, they're out of work, and guess what they're doing? They're teaching. They're offering classes. They're doing a lot of that right now. And something I was telling another student, I said, here's the beautiful thing. And this is in animation, this is in comics, this is in anything else. People larger companies want to hire people that are already doing the thing without having to be working for a company. So there was another layoff several years ago in the animation field where a big swath of people, Netflix, DreamWorks, all of them, was down, and they got laid off. And I would say a handful of them started making their own little like YouTube shorts. And then they started doing that and building that name. Some of them ended up doing their own graphic novels and comics and stuff like that. Others continued to do these shorts that got picked up later as a show because they never stopped. And they were doing it the way they wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing where I feel like preserve your individuality. There are people that are for you. We have a planet of over 7 billion people. If you got 100,000 of those 7 billion people, you got a freaking career.
Yeah.
So work that, do that, right? And that's what I was teaching them. Now, as far as getting other jobs, we all know that everybody works at a different speed, have a different skill set, and you can tell immediately whether people want to do this or not, or they got the chops, or are they ready. Everybody that I had in my studio was very talented. That goes without saying, but not everybody was ready. And I was taking on jobs. The other part is that when I started the studio, most people thought they were just getting me. I was like, oh, you're not getting me. I'm the AD. Like I'm the person that's coordinating this thing, and I am the mentor, right? Like you're getting, you might be getting Batmite. You ain't getting Batman. So it's kind of like so that was the confusion, and a lot of balls got dropped. Some projects were doing very well. I was really trying to do at the most do layouts and help people understand storytelling and all that kind of stuff. And I had 2 or 3 truly stellar I call them students, assistants, but they're just artists in their own right. And they work with me now when things happen. Like I had them do some assists on an Aquaman. One of the assistants I had actually is now an anchor at DC, and I give them assignments like with the new Midnight Tiger reboot series. They're going to be doing these backups for me. So it's still opportunities where otherwise they'd have to go through all the red tape and that kind of nonsense, where I'm mostly here to nurture them to be their best selves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they can do whatever they want. Like you can come and go as you please at this point. So you hiring us, that's dead now because it didn't work. But I can recommend who I have. I mean, I have a protege who is on there now. Next is fantastic. I met her over a year ago, and yes, Next is awesome, Bill. Just brilliant. At when I met her, I think she was 15. I mean, drawing circles around guys getting paid, $300 per page. Just, but the only difference is that she didn't have the skills to do sequential work, but as far as just artistic talent, off the charts. So it was easy. And then, anybody who's ever taught anyone knows that the students who soak up your information and take your critiques and they want more, and then when they come back, you can see that they listen to you and they're crazy talented. They're a gem. They're a gem. And so I would say I have 3 of those.
Wow.
So, and that's it. I'm not taking on any more students. I'm not doing that. I'm dealing with these 3. I'm getting them where they need to go. And then maybe I'll open it up, but I have so much going on that I don't have time for any more.
One of the cool thing about what you're saying, and kind of touching into like the Japanese studio system, or even from kind of like the solo ego thing of American cartoonists, the first thing usually people say is like, I need help, but I don't know where I could get help because I don't want to slow down what I'm doing and have to teach some kid how to do the thing. You know that ladder, you know.
Oh yeah.
They're basically talking themselves out of not necessarily knowing if they can be a teacher. Not everybody can mentor, right? Not everybody can slow down enough to understand what somebody needs to help them progress. Being a cartoonist is kind of a selfish thing in a way, and there's not everybody can teach or like hold a studio down like that. So I respect that. But also, I wanted to just touch on real quick what you said about do they really want to do this, and just going through a boot camp. Even just like working with you for a couple of months, Ray, is probably like a holy shit. What did I get? What did I just get myself into? Right?
Yeah, they got that. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, good. This is good pain. Like you have to learn how this works so you can see if you want it for real or not. So yes, anyway, I respect that hustle.
No, I mean, that was my retirement plan. I love teaching. I absolutely adore it. And you know, I think for me, it's to me, teaching is selfish because when you have a student who gets it and they go out into the world and you're like, that's my protege. They're my gospel.
Oh, right. You got to hit him with the Miyagi nod.
Yes, I do that often. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it is selfish, but it's also, we're here to spread knowledge. I think that is one of the main goals of humanity is to continue growth and knowledge. I'm not trying to gatekeep my information. I mean, if you've seen me at a convention, I end up teaching classes at my table when I should be drawing commissions, you know, and I can't stop myself. So yeah. I mean, it's just who I am. I am not in denial of that. But that being said, at this juncture, I'm about the business of the most selfish endeavor that any artist can do, which is being a writer artist. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, we're doing it all, and we want our singular voice. And there's nothing like it in the world. You know, I enjoy collaboration. I truly do. But where I'm at now, it's about ownership. It's about, I mean, I've done all kinds of things. You know, I've created characters for Marvel. I've done all these other things, but I'm just one in a barrel. You know, maybe people will remember, maybe not. I don't know. But there's only one Mike Mignola, right? And every time you see Hellboy, that's what you think. There's only one Akira Toriyama, you know, and he has someone who I can't remember his name right now who has taken over Dragon Ball. Yes, to be an original, absolutely. Like, and I have something. There was a point where I was working on X-Men, or I was working on something, and I would have people post on Twitter or whatever, this is cool, but when are you going to get back to Midnight Tiger? And I was like, oh, it stings when people say that a little bit, right? Because they don't know all the things that's going on behind the scenes of why I had to stop. Of course, now they do. But it's like, I didn't want to. I didn't want to stop. But I would say most of my bucket list of characters I wanted to work on as a kid, I touched those characters already. I would say at least 80%. There are some that I would love to explore, you know, maybe a 2 or 3 issue run, but they have to be tip top, like absolutely what I want. I think when I'm working on my own stuff, I'm having the best time of my life, guys. Like working on my own stuff, and I'm working with my wife. Now I'm gonna plug. So this just went on sale at Lunar, and I know the glares, but and CX Publishing, Andy Schmidt, fantastic. I love working with those guys. But yeah, this you can get the origin like complete. It's ready for pre-sale. I think FOC is towards the end of August. But anyway, this is it. This is what I'm kind of like. I'm pushing this because I'm doing a soft reboot of it, and it is. I would say get on it now because the series is not going to be what you think it is, and it is. I put this in a way where there's a red herring, kind of, a little smoke and mirrors, because what you're going to get with the series is what it was always supposed to be, and it is not what you think it is, and you guys aren't ready for it, but you will love it. And the other thing is this I'm working on with my wife. So we talked about those things that are like the kids want to look at, but it ain't for you. This is what this is. And this is me. I do the illustration. My wife created it. It's a WTF Mama. It's basically a coming of old age story, which we just talked about in the backstage. And it is a hilarious kind of take on that. And it is with this family of women, starring character Nanita, who is essentially dealing with the thing that comes with when you get older and you start losing your independence. Well, she ain't going down without a fight. She's going to fight for it in the craziest way. So this is something that we're on the third book now.
Wow.
And yeah, so two separate things that I'm working on, concentrating on that. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's your cottage industry onto yourself. But
absolutely,
that's what it's supposed to be about, right?
And not to mention Epiphany Engine, we just knocked that out, right?
Yeah,
I did Defiant for Legion M, the story of Robert Smalls, worked on that. Like, I'm constantly doing things. So yeah.
Do you feel like, and this is kind of an open question, but do you feel like the model where the fans are like, okay, but when are you going to? Now, you just talked about Midnight Tiger, which I'd love to hear those stories. But have you found fans who feel like you've disappeared if you're not working on mainstream stuff, and then you kind of
hell yes.
Can you kind of talk about that for a second?
Yeah, that is another hard blow.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I left Twitter almost 2 years ago, a year ago, whatever it was, I had almost 10,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I am doing my own thing, that's right. Now that I'm doing my own thing, I have seen a significant drop. And it's almost like, we love you, Ray, but we want to see you on, the New Warriors. Why don't you talk to them about doing some New Warriors? If Marvel came to me and was like, hey, Ray, we finally want you to do New Warriors, you might be able to, drag me back over there to start the thing. I don't know, but they're not talking to me, man. Like, they're not talking to me. They have their own people. The same thing with DC. I did my last interior work for mainstream was Aquaman, a Black Manta story with Joey Esposito, who has this hilarious book out now called Pedestrian. It was really cool. But it was really cool to do. And DC, I even talked to Jim Lee, and Jim Lee was trying to get me over there, and everybody was like, we finally got you over here. And then I was like, yeah, but no. Like, I think I want to do my own thing.
Right.
That's great.
I think I want to go as far as I can go with my own thing, because I have mainstream fans and I got Midnight Tiger fans, and I've disappointed Midnight Tiger fans for almost 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that anymore. So, I want to make my Marvel fans and my DC fans Midnight Tiger fans. That's my job.
That's great.
I think it's really interesting to talk about that because, out of how all of us have been doing a million things over the years, and you have kind of like columns of people who you may have like Ray Anthony Height fans, and then you have like, oh, but I like this. Oh, but I like Devil Dinosaur. But I don't like that. But
yes.
when you getting back to that though, This is cool.
Star Wars. The Star Wars people were like, when are you coming back to Star Wars? And I was like, I actually loved working on Star Wars stuff, and I wasn't even a big fan.
Mm-hmm.
But working with Mike McLean and Alyssa Wong and that whole crew, I'm a Star Wars fan now, like hardcore, and I would love to go back and do something with Alyssa, and that would be fantastic. But again, that ain't happening right now. Like right now, I'm relegating freelance work to covers. You can definitely get me on a cover, but when I get to issue 50 of Midnight Tiger, then sure.
That's good.
So yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like the comic book version of the record industry where you own your masters.
Yeah, I want to be Prince.
You know what I mean? And even as long as we've been in kind of like this age of independence, it's still kind of a hard line for people to accept. Like, no, I really want to do my own thing. No, but what about Moon Knight?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, we like you, but what about this Moon Knight over here? What about, don't you want to do a Night Thrasher solo series? I don't know if I do now.
So would that change? And I feel like I'm doing all the talking. I don't want to be.
No. If you don't throw a question at me, I'm gonna ask you guys questions.
Yeah. So I mean, so even with that, I think it's almost kind of like deprogramming the fan. And I love that people love characters. Like, I love this character. I follow this character. I've bought every issue or whatever because there's this character. And the people that have drawn and written it has changed over the years. But there's still like a hesitation to try on a new pair of jeans. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And it's just like, well, okay, I see you're over there and you're doing your little thing over there. But what about Moon Knight? So it's going to take a while.
Well, what steps did you? So looking at bringing some of the mainstream, the spinner rack crowd, trying to bring the spinner rack crowd over to your work.
I like that.
What steps you're taking? How are you approaching that? Because that seems like a big.
I love that you personally asked that question. So I have a business plan which I'm implementing. Part of that business plan is the first thing I'm going to do is make the new Midnight Tiger series a webcomic.
Fantastic.
And it will be, if you subscribe to my Substack, it will be free. And then once the issues are done, then I'll launch the print version via Kickstarter. Right? That's my plan. I can't tell you what the other part of the plan is because that's a secret. But that's the main part. That's what I'm going to do because, what I've found over the last 15 years, 10 years is that web series have a loyal fan base and they continue to grow and it's word of mouth. And then when you, let's say, print your books, Kickstarter, whatever, you go to a convention and it's like, oh, this is really cool. When's the next one coming out? Well, you can follow it on the website, right? And you keep growing these fan base. Guess who does that right now? And it's still kicking America's ass. Shonen Jump, Viz Media. It's not their online comics are free, at least for several chapters. And then the old school is they used to have the newsprints, and you get all these bunch of anthologies, whatever. And then later on they compile into tankobon. And you get your series. So essentially, you're getting your chapters in a kind of a cheap, quick way for maybe out of all the anthologies, you're kind of getting them for like 10 cents, depending on how much the cost is. And then you buy the tankobon, which is, depending on where you buy it, is anywhere between $7 to $12, right? But you already got them hooked by these little pieces. Steve, you're very well versed in that. And then see what I mean? Like, This is how you do it. I believe in it. You believe in your books so much that I'm giving it to you piecemeal for free. All you got to do is show up for me.
We call
But I guarantee you're going to love it.
We call that pinky mail comics.
Yes, yes, exactly. I mean, that's what you do. You get them, and I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with that.
Well, I think about all the comics that we grew up with and fell in love with, how often those stories were reprinted again and again and again, so that you couldn't get to be 15 without reading Amazing Fantasy 15. You never held the book in your hands, but you read that story, or you read
Yes.
Batman's origin, or a retelling of that origin. Again, they kept putting it in front of us so that you couldn't help but know it. And I feel like part of what we can do is we can make it free, put it in front of them, make it available. You know, try not to be a nudge about it, like, but make it available so they you know, if they, the thought was always been, you know, that you're free not to like it, but you can't be that you can't find it. You know, it has to be in front of you, and so you and then hopefully you hook them, and but I love
like
that
drugs. First was free. First was free. We know how addictive the drug can be.
Yeah.
We make the drug. We're making it so you love it, and we know you're gonna love it.
Someone asked me, won't divulge the name, but they asked me about, like, well, they're gonna put their work online for free. Do they need a watermark? And I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? Everybody steals it, you know? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Everybody has your book. Everyone has issue 1 in their device, you know, on their screen. That's the best case scenario. So
I love it. You know, and with the beauty of Instagram, I've seen some incredibly successful Instagram comics.
Absolutely. Winning Eisners.
Yes. This is the thing that I'm talking about. If you understand, again, this goes back to what we talked about before. Understand the market. Understand there's so many ways to get your work out there, right? And the only thing is you're in your own way. You're stopping yourself if you don't do it. Is it fear? It's ask yourself, what is the reason? You know? Yes, exactly. That's the whole point. Eternity forever. That is the whole point. They know how to market their comics, and they know who they're marketing it to. It is not a shotgun blast. It is a sniper rifle. So that's the thing. You pick. My wife told me this great phrase, and I love it. You pick the avatar to which your product is sold to. Who is that person? And you focus on that.
And if it's online and it's there forever, you always have new people coming in, discovering it, because one of the hardest things about doing anything in the direct market, it's really only fresh from Wednesday to Saturday, that it's not fresh anymore.
Yes.
Right? And you don't have the casual reader come in now to find this stuff. I mean, there's still, despite what people are always complaining about how the direct market is, you know, not great, there's still hundreds and hundreds of comics. So how do you put your stuff out there for the average young person to even casually discover it? I think that's what the webcomic has, is that it's always on there, and someone can always discover it.
You're getting them where they are. They're online.
Yeah, and I just think that young people are used to discovering things online. Like, we discovered things in print because that's the only way you could discover it. You had no other alternative but to find it as a magazine, right?
Yeah.
But now you can find stuff online and develop a following. And I don't think that the younger viewers have the same kind of prejudice or criteria, because, you know, the older fans want to get it, they want to put it in the bag, and they want to put they physically want to collect it.
Yeah.
Right? They physically want to collect that comic and put it in there with all their other comics. But I think a lot of young people are happy to read it online They don't necessarily want, they're readers, but not necessarily collectors in that way.
And you know what's crazy? Like the idea of the term viral. When you have a fan, they want it in every medium possible. So even though they have read, 200 of your Instagram comics, if you say, now we're going to collect the first, 100 comics, they want that. So you're going to get them, and you're going to get us old heads who like it in print also. Because if you have it at a show, or if you have it in the book market, and let's say Scholastic picks it up, let's say whoever, now you have it in all these different markets. All you're doing is making sure that it's out there, it's seen, and it gets into the hands of the people who want it.
Right.
That's really all you're doing. And if you think about it as extra work, you're doing yourself a disservice, because the point of us putting anything out is to be consumed.
Yeah.
So, however we can give it to them, that's how we give it to them.
Yeah, and I'm positive there are people who don't buy the collections of my work because they can read it for free, and they can't afford the book. And I'm like, that's cool. Yes. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Steve, why don't you, if you be so kind, to jump into some questions for Ray before we run out of road?
And I do want to say, I love that your site is set up on Substack. Like, you basically have got the whole thing it's just perfect.
I got over 300. The goal is to get 1,000, but I love that I have 300 subscribers right now, over 300. And my goal for that, and to make the Substack subscribers also my Kickstarter fan base, it is, I like to call the Fortune 500 of Kickstarter. If you have 500 backers on Kickstarter, you can make some cheese.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're loyal. Like, I love that. It's a whole other market. Like, we even talked about that. Mm-hmm. The Kickstarter market is an entirely different, subsect all its own. Yeah. Because they don't even, a lot of them don't even buy comics at the shop. They get all their comics from Kickstarter.
Yeah. They're making a pledge to someday may have a credit card payment that they'll pay off, and it's the weirdest disconnected purchase. And we're big spenders. And when I have Kickstarters, my website traffic jumps because people are like, let me check this thing out. And man, it's great. Well, let's start with a comment. I think this is not a question, but I think that's a nice way to start.
I appreciate you, Village. My man.
But we've got Bill O'Donnell on the YouTubes saying, Ray, your thoughts on Webtoon and the effects of getting Gen Z and Gen Alpha comics readers?
That's a good question. Bill's coming with it's not a hard question, but it's definitely one of those that you got to think a little harder.
You can pass.
Steve, what do you think? Well, no, I don't want to pass.
Swipe right.
I think, we already touched on it.
Yeah.
There are Gen Zers and Gen Alphas that are there that are, checking out Webtoon. Some platforms, there are people who only read tapas. There are some people who only I think they had one called Line. I think that's Korea's. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. So they, depending on where they are, everybody goes to them. I have an account on almost all of them, and there's things that I read there also, but I'm doing it. It's just me, but because I'm doing my observation thing and I'm pulling information and I'm trying to assess the landscape, but I also go there to enjoy what's there. Right. So I think those folks are there, even though, most of us are Gen X. At this point, but honestly, I think they're there. It's kind of like what Mike said. Like they're the warriors that go because we want to go to the shops, right? But if you have them hooked as creators, the idea is they want to get it where they can find it. They just want to read it, because there are people who go to Marvel's like vertical scroller because they want to read the new Black Panther thing or whatever thing that they're doing, even though it's not necessarily built for Gen X, Gen Z, or whatever. It's built for anybody who wants to go there.
Right.
So yeah.
That's great. Thanks for the question, Bill. Let me see. How about this? Turnitin Forever, getting many shout outs tonight on the YouTube, says, how do you keep your own ideas / projects from conflicting with the mainstream properties? Do you have breathing room for both?
That's why I've kind of relegated mainstream properties to covers and stuff. And just because it's not that I can't do both of those, but the demand for mainstream is much stronger. The pressure for mainstream and taking care of that kind of stuff is much stronger than your own. And if you let it, which many of us have, it will engulf you and you will forget your own. Because, you know, the thing that you get with working on mainstream and doing those ideas, I've given and contributed to and collaborated with some brilliant, writers and editors and stuff like that on creating things, but I don't own those things. You know, I don't, like right now, like the character Dirge from, not Rebels, God, it's escaping me right now, but I did the first appearance of Dirge in the comics for Star Wars. And then somebody came to me and was like, oh my God, you created Dirge. No, I didn't. I think Jenny Tartakovsky, created Dirge for the animation. But then I got schooled. It's called, nope, when you do it in a new medium, then you get like first appearance or creator credit for that medium.
Huh.
And I didn't know that. So, and then it's like, okay, well, now, are you going to do something for Dirge? Like, no. I mean, I want to do this thing. And I don't necessarily, I want to give as much as I can to my own stuff because I own it. And then when people come to me, it is a brilliant thing to be asked to draw Midnight Tiger versus to be asked to draw, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And I was saying this before. I think Eric Larson, who I have this very funny banter with online, I said, I think I said Akira Toriyama doesn't get asked to draw Batman. Okay. And then I think Eric was like, you know how many people asked me to draw Spider-Man? I got over 200 issues of the Savage Dragon. And I was like, yeah, I get that. But you do draw some cool Spidey shit. So, that I'm okay with that. But I would hate to go to an entire convention and no one ever asked me to draw Midnight Tiger. And that is
that segues nicely into the next question. Eternitine, thank you for that. Stunt Ken on YouTube says, right. Do you think being established on popular comics makes it harder and challenging to do your own comic because fans only associate you with a popular IP and fans have a hard time accepting an unknown IP or new to them IP?
The easy answer, yes. That's the quick and easy answer. But it's not black. It's not as black and white. I think it's all about familiarity. Those characters have had 80 plus years to be in the zeitgeist. You know what I mean?
Theme song. Yeah.
Right. Like they have theme songs. Everybody knows, it's like I can go 1,000 miles or 3,000 miles away to another country and I'll say Spider-Man. Oh yeah. It's Peter Parker. Yeah. So, right. So that, but if I say Midnight Tiger, they're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'll wear my shirt. Right. And so then that's the other thing. People will say, oh, that's cool. Is that Black Panther? And, which I have to, it segues into now I can talk about this thing. So what happens is people like familiarity. And if they will quickly associate something with the thing they know most, that is the most popular, even if it's tangential. And I know you guys notice that. Like, so if you're looking at my character and thinking it looks like Black Panther, and then I was like, well, why don't you read it? And I love the reviews where they're like, oh no, this is more like Spider-Man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to get the real sense. That's a win. And then you start getting fan art, and then you start, right? And then it just builds and builds. I'm working against 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to put in that work, right? Like, that's the thing. So it is a competition, but I have a few tricks. I don't need to get 1 million fans. I love them, but I don't need to get 1 million fans to do well. I'm looking for the 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if 100,000 is okay to ride with me and my creations, but the million loves the stuff I did on X-Men, fantastic. We're all together. So
I have a little thing I wanted to add in there when you're talking about familiarity. I don't really place it, but remember when the Watchmen movie was being kind of like lauded, it was coming out, people were excited about this movie. And I swear I was at the movies to see a Batman movie. I could be wrong. And the trailer for Watchmen started, and Night Owl drops out of the ship into a bunch of people. And somebody's like, yo, are we seeing a Batman movie?
Yes.
Right. So it's just like, that's a real thing. It's like, well, this is a dark dude with a cape as Batman. You know what I mean? So like,
he's got pointy ears.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, what are you doing to us? I just saw this, So I mean, that's a real thing. Like, people do get
it is a real thing.
Brand confusion is really easy.
And if it's saturated so much, it's locked in.
Mm-hmm.
It is locked. Joe, man. That's a whole other show. I could go into that. That's a whole, because it is exactly what you're saying. I mean, Jamar, like, if I were to do, it's all about silhouette, and we're all talking about design and how important iconic design is. If you see the silhouette of Batman without the cape, who does it look like?
Superman.
Batman without the cape? The same cowl.
Wait. Yeah. Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Black Panther.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had a Jim Lee moment.
Oh yeah, you're thinking completely without the cowl. No. Hey, that's the silhouette is strong, right? That's really the thing. But there are characters that there's nothing that you can do that you would ever confuse them with anyone else, like the original Loki design. If you see the Loki design in silhouette, that's Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Same with the thing with Galactus and those types of characters. It is not necessarily there are elements in my design sense that who doesn't get mentioned, even though when I look at the design of Midnight Tiger, I see it very clearly, or people who are like us, who have been reading comics their whole life, can see it. And no one ever says it unless I press them. Wildcat.
I was gonna say, like, that was the lack of imagination from a lot of editors. They'll see your stuff. Oh, you should be doing Wildcat, or who was it White Tiger? Was that a
well? So I get that one. I get that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So because he's got the symbol, right?
Or the jade necklace.
The jade necklace, because it's the tiger and then it's the necklace, and so that's what I thought. I was like, honestly, I talked to Ron. Well, I didn't talk to Ron Friends, but we had this kind of serendipitous situation. The design and some of the essence of Midnight Tiger is the character Puma and Spider-Man. Cool. That's kind of the strongest essence. That's where, if you look at the person who gave Midnight Tiger his powers, he's almost exactly like Puma.
Huh.
But you wouldn't know that if you didn't read it. So that's the thing. Like, yeah, and it's a whole different thing. Like, this is you know, I'm giving some of the stuff away for the new series, but it has always been a more supernatural series because that is a were, like his predecessor was a were lion. It's you know, it's like a lycanthrope, but you know, so anyway, this is this whole thing, but you have to read it to understand it. Now, the crazy thing is, when it comes to it, I've also been told, it's like, oh, this is one of the best independent designs I've ever seen. And I think that's fantastic. I love design. I really enjoy that because I want it's the look that draws you in. It's like a great cover. A great cover will make you open that book. Sometimes you get disappointed by the interiors, but a great cover will make you open the book. A great looking character would make you say, hey, what's this guy all about?
And the design is so good, and it's one of those ones where you think Hollywood doesn't have to mess with it. Like they have to mess with everybody. Yeah. You're like, no, they could just use that. That's that cover of that collection that you were holding up a moment ago that you have on the website. Beautiful, just beautiful.
Thank you. I am you know, I think I'm a child of the old of both the you know, John Buscema, you know, that kind of era of design, you know, John Romita, Steve Ditko, that kind of thing. Alan Davis, who's, you know, just brilliant. But also because I grew up with bootlegs of manga and Japanese animation, that is also in here. That is also, it dictates my design sense with so many things. So when you get these things mixed together, like his ears, if you look at Midnight Tiger's ears, if the inside, and I can thank Eric Larson for this because he always rags on people to get Cyber Dragon's fin wrong. And if you look at Midnight Tiger's ears, it is kind of this plastic thing that has 5 pillars inside it. So, you know, if that's not there, because it's kind of hollowed out, that's how you know. One of those things that you'll look at a design like, if anybody knows what I'm going to say, Moldiver. If you've ever seen the anime OG Moldiver, or you know, OVA Moldiver, there's some mecha there. I'm a big fan of Masami Obari's design. You know, I don't want to jump and say, oh, you know, Otomo, but yes, Otomo as well. Different things that have influenced me. But when I think of those things, I think about functionality. So that's one of the things.
That's right. Well, we got a few more questions here. We got SWS on YouTube that has a 2-parter comment. As artists, so that might be open to the group. Have you ever worked in other media jobs such as concept art, background art, or illustrative storyboarding, etc.? Or do you fully devote your artistic skills to comics? Because nowadays it feels like it's so hard to get into the industry. Thanks for that question, WS.
I've done storyboarding. You know, I worked on Guardians of the Galaxy for a year. It's not the only storyboarding that I've done, but it's the only thing that actually made it to TV. So I've done projects that I signed NDAs that even though they're dead, I can't even talk about them.
Sure.
So I've done it a while. I mean, I would say total, I probably have messed with storyboarding in my career 4 times, maybe. Maybe 4 times. And they're all been really great experiences. You know, it's really cool. What about you guys?
Well, Mike, you go because Mike's done it all, right?
Yeah, I've done boards. Not in a while now, though. The last thing I did in animation was animation design on Ren and Stimpy. But then that cartoon died somewhere. It never actually came out in America. So I think it was one of those things. We'll park it for tax purposes.
Yeah, I think that happened. The reason why a couple of those things didn't come out is for that. I think that's probably the reason.
But yeah, so I think the last thing I did was Secret Saturdays.
All right.
I love that show.
Yeah, I did that. That was the last one. And then I worked on Batman Brave and the Bold after that, but I worked on character design. So I jump around, do all kinds of different things. Now it'd be very hard to do boarding because they pushed so much off on you as the board guy now.
Yeah.
Now you got to do the timing and all kinds of, they want you to basically make the animatic.
Mhm.
But they're not paying you for that.
No.
Mike, didn't you do a Secret Saturdays comic too?
Yeah, I did some comics, the Secret Saturdays comic, and the worked on the show. And
Got a fan in the chat. I love it.
I miss working on those comics because I liked working on the cartoons and then working on the comic book versions of that. But you don't really have that now. That's all kind of been. I don't think DC does that now like they used to, and they don't do the same kinds of shows that they used to. So I think like Adventure Time wasn't through DC; that was through somebody else, like Boom or something.
Yeah, that was Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all very different right now, and the Cartoon Network doesn't actually really exist much anymore. So
Right.
But yeah. So and boarding was very challenging because it required a lot of different disciplines. And it was certainly a lot of thinking. You can cheat in a comic book, but you can't really cheat in a storyboard.
But Mike, didn't you realize, at least for me, I know, like, it helped me when I went back to comics.
Oh yeah.
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 You can't cheat.
Yeah. One of the nice things about working in animation is there's already sort of a style there, so you don't have to really worry about that. You just can concentrate on telling a good story because it's already there's whether it's Disney style or Gendy style or whatever. And I enjoyed that because I also like doing different styles, so that scratched that itch too.
And even so, and Steve has been all over the place and just like different.
Educational comics or informational graphics. There's a thing called for a park. You go in a park and there's a big sign that's on the ground. I did a cartoon for that. That was an interpretive sign, they're called, and it's like it had like how trees are superheroes of the park, that sort of thing, and. There's you're absolutely right, SWS. Lots of applicable skills that you can apply everywhere. You can get cartoon for pretty much anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think even just being a self-publisher, you're doing so much that's not necessarily drawing a comic page. I think it's a skill set that gets kind of like put under the table a lot. People
I like that trees are superheroes.
Yeah, right.
I leaned into it. And,
trees are superheroes.
And but I gotta go. It's like a Governor's Park in Tallahassee, Florida. I have to go there someday to see the sign. But the idea of producing a print-ready PDF would terrify most people. Upload this file, and it's going to cost you $3,000, and you get what you get.
That sounds scary. Yeah, I think about that too, because when I was recently at San Diego Comic-Con, I often forget I spent a lot of time at Hasbro designing toys, and that's a job I thought I would never have. I wanted to do comics. I didn't, but it was one of the best jobs I had, and I ended up working on things that I used to be fans of. So when I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and we were doing a panel for the Defiant book, and the one of the producers, associate producers, he loves the fact that I designed toys for G.I. Joe because he was a big fan of G.I. Joe. But we're there for comics, and I was like, and there was a part of me that's like, you mentioned toy design but you didn't mention no comics. Because I was like, well, we're here to promote comics, not toys. But that was cool. I mean, because it was designs for like Firefly, Snake Eyes, somebody else. I can't remember. I don't think they used one, but yeah, it was fun. It was cool.
All right. I think it's like one or two questions.
Yep, we'll
start wrapping it up.
Bill O'Donnell make another appearance. Talking about Kickstarter before. No double dipping into Indiegogo or any of the other crowdfunding platforms, Crowdfunder or Zoop or any of those.
Zoop, yeah. What's Zoop? There it is.
Yeah. I had a failed situation with Zoop. It wasn't their fault. It just didn't work out. But Zoop is always an open door for me. I know those guys. I'm not a big fan of double dipping though. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, nice. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of double dipping. I don't know if/when I'll use Zoop maybe because I am thinking about doing you heard it here first. I am thinking about producing an art book by the end of the year. Ooh. But I don't know where it's going to be. But Zoop is an option.
And Backer Kit, and there's so many places to crowdfund.
Yeah, Backer Kit's great. Whalebacker.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's so many ways to do this stuff yourself, guys. Like, really the only thing is your effort and really boning up on knowledge on how to do it. I think a lot of us artists types are like, I don't want to do that. I just want to draw. I just want to, create. Come on, get off that.
I just want to starve.
Yeah, right. I just want to, or I want to make all the cool art, and then I have to hire a lawyer because I don't know where the money went.
Yeah.
So, oops. Yeah, because you didn't want to do it yourself. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of that. But anyway, I digress.
And we got a batting cleanup is JRD on YouTube. Nothing more satisfying than holding a book in your hands that you made with a character you created. Keep up the good fight, Ray.
Nice. You know what? I met Mr. Dean's at Heroes. Loved it. It was so cool. Like I've known him for years now, and we never met in person. It was so great.
Oh, that's fantastic!
Thank you so much.
That's the power of the internet.
I feel this feels surreal sometimes because 90% of the time I am a lurker on Pencil to Pencil. Like I'm in the chat, right? I am. Go ahead. You guys are a lot of times in my background while I'm working, and then when you guys are on a good heater, I just jump in the chat and I start, typing away. But even though this is maybe my third time on the show, and I'm like,
this might be the fourth.
There was speculation. I don't know, Steve. You got my job because Jan was like, "Yo, when you gonna just join?"
I don't know. We could maybe find another.
Can you do a 4-man team? Are we the Fantastic Four now, or what?
We could do a 5-box.
My position is. I was told. Jamar said my spot is provisional, and I have not been.
What?
I have. He said, "Don't unpack your things."
That's right. He was like, "Don't put any pictures of your cubicle yet. This might change for you."
I had my geranium. He's like, "No."
Steve, look, I was thinking you guys could throw a rock and find somebody better than me. They threw a pretty big rock to get you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Steve's the heart of the Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
we need him here.
I am the Winston. That's Winston.
What a great plot twist! I love it.
I love it.
That's fantastic. Well, you know what? It's we'll start wrapping up, as I know we talked about maybe talking to Tim, but we're at a good spot, and this has been fantastic. One thing, Ray, before we head out the door, I'm glad you brought up the storyboarding thing because I just looked at one of your Facebook posts. I think it was Facebook. And you were showing some Moon Girl board. No, they were roughs. I think they were.
Oh
roughs.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how doing storyboards improved your layouts and also improved your storytelling, and
Yes.
all of these different devices kind of work their way into your comic making. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit more?
Absolutely. And Mike, feel free to back me up. But when you are storyboarding, my first episode, and if you're coming from comics, you're trying to do finished boards, like you're trying to do what is image boards, and that's not what this job is. This is visual storytelling language, and you need to be clear. It doesn't need to be cute. It doesn't need to be, fancy. But what it does need to be is clear. The staging's got to be clear. The composition's got to be clear. You have to have a sense of direction, up, down, left, right, all the access. And this is getting translated into film. So this is not a static image. These things are going to move. So you need to start studying film and study some of the best directors, because they have animation directors and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. But a lot of storyboard artists, revisionists, turn into directors because you're setting the scene. Like you're playing the whole thing out. And when you do that, you can't hide behind panel breaks and some of this little tricks that we use in comics. And it also forces you to be quick and get it down and understand how what every player's position is. The camera needs to know where everybody is at all times, right? If somebody moves out of frame, you can see them move out of frame. It's not that you can't single them out or you can go back and forth, but you need to be the fly on the wall with your camera, and you need to be doing this. And it helps you to think in 3D space. It helps you to think in A, B, C, D, like what literally is going to come next. So when I started learning that, and I'm sitting there in the first episode and I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm adding details. And my director's like, you're going too hard on this. This is not comics, like you don't need all of that. All you need to do, here's a technique. Here are these guys who have such great, simple gesture drawings. Master those. There are indicators that you can use to show which character is which. Like if a character has glasses and no one else has, just put the glasses on the character. Whatever the thing is, right? But keep it simple. Just, and one of the things that I was good at was staging, but it was being able to move things in a sequential way, knowing that these things are going to be in motion, helped me so much. Who's talking? Who's not talking? Who's in frame? Where are they? All that kind of thing. Things that in comics we can get away with leaving stuff completely out, because there's going to be some kind of blue box or whatever we're trying to do. We have cheats. But when I came back after about 8 months, I got it down. I had a shorthand. Boom, 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 and I was just zipping through. Once I figured out what the angle, changing the shot, all those different things were, and I incorporated that, especially always know where your horizon line is, right? So, that is key. All of those things helped me. So when I went back to doing my layouts, I was zipping through layouts where it used to take 2 weeks to do layouts, and I would do them so detailed. And then when I came back, the first 10-page story that I had done, I think I did those layouts in 2 days. Because I was used to doing at that point 100 panels a night, 100, so it was like, holy crap, I got a superpower now. And it was just great. And I could see it clean. And the other thing it taught me, which is super valuable, is that it stopped me from being precious. it stopped me from being precious. Like, does it tell the story? Yes. Is everybody who's speaking in the correct part of where they need to go? Yes. In the next shot, visually, did we see where that character went? Or are we going to be confused? No, we didn't do that. Okay, I needed a panel for this. I ended up being so, I don't want to say anal about it, but I would get scripts and comics now where I'm reading it and I'm like, they need a panel here. They need, And so I got hired to do a lot of stuff based on that. Like if it's 5 panels and I know that the storytelling is off, I would add panels.
Mm-hmm.
I would add panels just so it was clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't take me much. So that's what changed for me, where the storytelling became paramount.
That's great.
And then once I got my gesture blocks, my little figures in, which was nothing, then I would go back and I would just breeze through rendering because all the work was done. All the real work was done.
I love it.
All the work. So that's what changed for me. Like, and if I could read it, and that was the thing I would get back from my editors, it would be like, oh man, these are your layouts. Like this is the story. I can see everything, And I was like, yes, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I swore you said this, and this has really stuck with me. And if I'm wrong, then I apologize. But you said a thing in there is like it's less about making pretty pictures and more about storytelling.
Yes, that's what we're selling. We're interior comic book artists. Even though it's a little different now, although the resurgence of like comic covers that are telling the story are coming back, because I've seen some really, really great story covers. Mm-hmm. For a long time, we had a lot of flash covers, a lot of, oh, look how awesome an artist I am, that kind of cover, which is fine, But interiors are the business. Otherwise, buy an art book.
I love that.
That's facts, right? Like we're if you're doing interiors, you're doing the work. I know some brilliant cover artists. These guys get down. Like they are fantastic. Mm-hmm. But they have a skill set, and the best of them are excellent storytellers. I look at somebody, like Adam Hughes. They were always he's a cheesecake artist. I've seen some Adam Hughes covers that is brilliant storytelling in a single image. Brilliant. Design, everything, because he gets it. He understands the assignment, but he also did interiors.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So maybe last word, last question, which is kind of along the framework of what we've been talking about. Our good buddy Tim Fielder. What up, Tim Fielder? Go to the archives, check out our interview with Tim Fielder with Joe Illidge. There's a lot of superstars in the chat. Tim says, would you say that getting through that threshold has made you more confident with your original IPs?
Yes, most definitely. The thing that really, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. If you guys are out there and you're creators, I'm gonna drop this nugget. Marvel and DC or whoever company, they're paying you for your ability to tell a story. Every time they hire you, it is confidence that you can tell a story. They keep telling you you're good enough to tell a story. And you're doing it well enough that we want to continue to hire you. Why do you not want to do that for your own stuff?
Wow, that's a mic drop. I love it.
You don't need nobody. They already told you. The top of the game with the gatekeepers and all the people that hired you. And they told you, you can do this. Why don't you?
Ooh, I'm getting chills off of that. I love it. Thank you. All right. I think that's a great place to stop. Before we hold on, pow. Also,
that's what motivated me. That lives in my head rent free. I tell myself that every time I sit down to do my own work, and every time I feel shaky about, oh, where did my fans go? You gotta go get them. by doing the thing that that company paid you to do.
That's right.
But for you,
Go get them.
go get them.
I love it. My good buddy Al B Art. What up, Al B Art? Was in class with me many moons ago. This is very kind of nice. Appreciate that. That's what Jamar taught me, storytelling. The viewer should be able to know what's going on in your comic, even without words. Word up.
Dang.
Bong bong. I love it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Ray, before we get out of here, how can people find you on the internet?
Well, I was trying to be all cool when I had my whole Studio Sky Tiger thing or whatever. Oh, thank you so much, Valentine. And then people couldn't find me. So I went back to R.A. Height. So you can find me at R.A. Height on Instagram. You can find me at R.A. Height on Twitter/X. And just Ray Height on Facebook. The only thing that's the same is my Substack, which is Studio Sky Tiger.
Awesome.
So, and there are links on my Instagram to that. So you can find me.
Awesome. Yeah, we got a lot of great feedback in the chat. SWS says, this was awesome. Thank you. I just got to spell awesome. Thank you.
So your reflections are always great. I just love that.
Thank you. So we're about to get out of here, but I have some news for everybody. Again, thank you, Ray. Don't leave yet. We got to do Kirby hands. But just for everybody that is watching, is a fan of the Pencil to Pencil channel, because you know there's other things going on. Besides this lovely program, there's also Coffee Break with JN. There is no coffee break tomorrow. I need a coffee break. I need a break. We're not doing that tomorrow. And we will be off next week. But I have a great treat for you guys. On the 28th, the last Wednesday of this month, we're going to have Sam and Max creator Steve Purcell on Pencil to Pencil.
Hey, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So be sure you tune in for that. More news to come. Thank you so much, Ray. You've earned your green jacket tonight. This was fantastic.
Yes.
For everybody that you brought in on the slipstream. And again, I have to give you credit. Every time our guests signal boost their appearance, the numbers go through the roof. So the rest of you cats, be on notice. This is what you got to do. You got to get your weight up.
And this was the fourth episode. You got to go back to the archive.
Oh, this is the fourth episode. All right.
Is it fourth?
I think it's the fourth.
Yeah, I think this might be four.
I love it. Yeah, man. You got to get all of those master jackets in. I love it.
Well, 6 is the set, so.
So we're gonna have you back. That's right. Let's do it.
Yeah, you got 2 more. I got to get my punch card filled to get that sub, bro.
That's right. You get a frappuccino after the 6th episode. All right, guys, we're gonna call it. Thank you guys so much for joining us live. The archive is rich. If you love what you saw here, like, subscribe, and drop kick that alert button. Guys, we're running out of time. We're running out of. They're coming for us. Oh, no. All right, we better Kirby hands before this all goes to crap. All right, Kirby hands. Put those hands up. All right, nice. All right, guys, get out of here. We'll see you soon.